Now, if I really had to list my top 3 favorite Star Wars films out of the entire Skywalker saga, they would definitely have to be The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and of course Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about the Skywalker saga, of course, is that we have The Rise of Skywalker coming up by director J.J. Abrams that is all set and ready to end the sequel trilogy and the Skywalker saga itself. That's really going to wrap all things together of all 9 movies that were created by George Lucas and everybody else involved with the sequel trilogy and the original trilogy, you name it. Now, I wanted to go into Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith's original ending before the script was finalized by George Lucas back in 2004, before the film released in 2005. Now, May of 2005 was a big time because a lot of fans were very happy to see the origins of Darth Vader and, of course, the origins of Emperor Palpatine and learning more about that side of the story of exactly how it really all came together and how it really transferred over into the original trilogy. So, with that being said, what's really intriguing about George Lucas is the fact that he went through multiple different phases and multiple different changes of the ending of Episode 9, and by far, one of the original endings of course, Revenge of the Sith, all had to do with, of course, the world of Mustafar between Anakin Skywalker and other characters alike. Now, what's really intriguing about this is that it's explained that while George Lucas was writing Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith in the early 2000s, is that George went through many ideas of how Revenge of the Sith's ending would be. It's described that George Lucas at one point in time had a far different vision for the ending of Episode 3 for the world of Mustafar and for Anakin Skywalker and his demise and his defeat. Now, before Lucas finalized the script, it's explained that originally Padme Amidala was going to try and stab Anakin Skywalker with an ancient dagger that was on board of her starship on the landing pad, where Padme would attempt to stab Anakin before getting force-choked and killed by Anakin Skywalker. Now, the scene would then progress to when Anakin Skywalker knew he had killed Padme on the spot, and that moment where instead of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda would walk off of Padme's ship, and that Yoda originally was the one to know the relationship between both Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala, and that she was pregnant with a child. The sequence would then evolve into a full-on lightsaber duel between both Yoda and Anakin Skywalker over the lava lake of Mustafar, in a similar way to how Anakin and Kenobi fought, except this version of the fight was far shorter than the Kenobi and Anakin one. Eventually, this would lead to a moment in which Yoda would be the one to serve and to actually sever Anakin Skywalker's limbs by use of his green lightsaber. However, the scene did not involve the high ground or a catchy quote involving the high ground, and that Yoda originally swept under Anakin's legs and sliced through his legs, followed by jumping and taking Anakin's other arm off, leaving him for dead to burn on the world of Mustafar, followed by Yoda healing Padme. So let's go over a couple of parts about this and as to why this original ending between both, of course, Anakin Skywalker and Yoda was a very intriguing one, but I think that ultimately George made a better decision by having the final fight between both Kenobi and Anakin because of the effect it would have on the original trilogy. And that's what I like about that ending, is that you have these two powerful Jedi that are actually battling each other on the world of Mustafar that would then carry on over into the storytelling process of A New Hope when Kenobi meets Luke. So it makes a lot more sense in that way, but at the same exact time, having Yoda fight Anakin Skywalker sounds surreal. The fact that it was a part of one of the original endings of Episode 9 by George, you can only imagine what it would have looked like between both Anakin and Yoda fighting on the lava lake of course, Mustafar. And there was going to be no high ground moment, no high ground catchy quote or anything like that. Everything else, between Anakin and Padme was changed, where Padme attempted to actually kill Anakin by use of an ancient dagger. Really makes you wonder now, right? Is that exactly what inspired J.J. Abrams to include the Sith dagger in The Rise of Skywalker that is going to tell a tale of Rey's parents and their demise? So the leaks that we have gone over, there is going to be a dagger in the film, so keep an eye open for that. Very intriguing as well. So George Lucas, we can see that he went through all these different changes between Anakin, Yoda, Padme, and by excluding Obi-Wan Kenobi from the ending, it really makes you wonder exactly where he was at this point in time. It's very possible that at this point in time, Kenobi was the one battling, of course, Palpatine, and the reason as to why in the finalized version of the movie, that of course, Kenobi did not fight Palpatine is that Yoda tells Kenobi that, Palpatine is way too strong for Kenobi, and that he must face Anakin Skywalker and destroy the Sith once and for all. So that's what I like about Revenge of the Sith, is not only the finalized version of the film, but the older ideas that George Lucas had in mind of what could have been and what the original movie would have really been like if he chose those actual decisions, right? So George, at the end of the day, the fact that he's also attached to The Rise of Skywalker also gives me hope that the saber duels between both Rey and Kylo Ren are almost going to be as good as the one between both Anakin and Kenobi's in of course, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. But it wasn't just that. After the big duel between both Anakin and Yoda on the world of Mustafar, George Lucas originally intended to explore the early life of Han Solo and actually being on the world of Kashyyyk and his relationship with the Wookiees and meeting Chewbacca and all those different aspects of Han Solo's early life that would have showed us him as an actual child. And that's what George Lucas originally wanted to do by giving us the early life of Han Solo, just a little cameo, if you will, that never really worked out for the finalized version of the film. Unfortunately, I think that would have been a really good idea. It's unfortunate that it did not make the final cut of the film, and introducing Han Solo's character, as a young Han Solo, even younger than how he was in Solo: A Star Wars Story. We are talking about him as a kid here, being placed on the world of Kashyyyk, basically learning the language of the Wookiees and pretty much, befriending Chewbacca and doing all those different things. Completely different story than what we got in Solo: A Star Wars Story, right? Before Disney took over Lucasfilm and made all these different changes, and it may have even contradicted some of the the expanded universe material, the Legends content, you name it. So George Lucas, the fact that he really wanted to implement all these different ideas into Revenge of the Sith to give it a far different feel, if you will, a different tone, and how it really switched over to what we see as it is today. You can really see that that's the exciting thing about filmmaking, especially with George, is that he went through all these different adjustments and all these different changes. It almost reminds me of what's going on right now with The Rise of Skywalker, and the fact that the ending of the film, is being tested with 3 different endings, and how a lot of reshoots took place in August, September, and October of this year. A lot of things are being adjusted, and it just really reminds me of what happened back in 2004, 2005, with Revenge of the Sith, and all the different, changes that George made to that movie. And additionally, George Lucas even originally intended to explore the early lives of both Luke and Leia on the worlds of Tatooine and Alderaan, and how that's really going to transfer into the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series now, by the way. You can really see how Disney and Lucasfilm are cherry-picking from George Lucas's old and original ideas from Revenge of the Sith and other Star Wars films. So, in Revenge of the Sith, George originally wanted to, and of course, this was a part of the original script before it was finalized, is that it would show us alternate scenes of Alderaan and of course Tatooine and the early lives of Luke and Leia, and exactly what Luke's life was like and Leia's life was like with Bail Organa and his wife. Very interesting stuff, the fact that it went through so many different changes and what could have been, and how a lot of those aspects are being transferred over into other Star Wars projects, right? Especially this one in particular, the new Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series, by the way, is actually said to involve the worlds of Tatooine and of course Alderaan, showing us exactly what Luke and Leia's lives were like as kids. Not as infants, but actual kids. Pretty much, to the point where they know exactly what's going on, how the galaxy is now ruled by the Empire, and how they're growing up with that entire way of life. It's going to be a very interesting series, I must add. 6 episodes, that's 6 hours and change of Obi-Wan Kenobi content coming our way in 2021, so look out for that. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.